Welcome to a tale woven from frost and fire, where an ordinary blacksmith named Seth embarks on an extraordinary journey with a group of unlikely heroes. As they brave an eternal winter, unleashed by a rogue god known as Tirador, they discover the true power of unity, hope, and resilience. Join Seth, the fierce warrior Astrid, the clever trickster Giara, and the mystical Elowen as they confront despair and darkness to ignite warmth in the hearts of the lost. This story unfolds against the backdrop of mystical lands, shadowy figures, and a relentless quest to restore balance to a world shrouded in cold. Feel free to tune in while you go about your day, whether you're cooking, working, or relaxing. In the village of Elderwood, where snow blanketed the roofs like a heavy shroud, tales of an endless winter began to seep into the bones of every villager. I was just a simple blacksmith, a man of muscle and metal, tending to my forge when the first rumors reached me. Our crops were failing, the frost creeping into the very core of our land, and each passing day took with it a flicker of warmth. It was on one such bleak evening, while I hammered a horseshoe beneath the flickering glow of the forge, that a cloaked figure appeared at my door. She was a mystic, known in whispers as Elowen, with eyes like shards of ice that seemed to hold the secrets of the world. Her voice trembled like a gust of cold wind as she spoke of a rogue god casting curses upon the land in a fit of rage. The storm that danced at the edge of our village was no ordinary tempest. It was the manifestation of Tirador, a once noble deity turned vengeful specter. The whispers cried for heroes to rise against this unholy power, and the weight of destiny felt heavy upon my shoulders. Elowen explained I was not alone in this plight. We would need to gather a band of unlikely allies to brave the eternal winter and reach the heart of the frozen wasteland. It was a call to arms that echoed in my mind, and as I bade farewell to the forge, I knew my life would never be the same. Part 2. Allies in the cold setting out from Elderwood, I ventured across the snow-packed landscape, seeking those who would stand beside me against Tirador. My first stop was the village of Ashenvale, notoriously home to the fierce warriors known as the Frostbound. They were a proud and sturdy folk, adept in war, but their hearts had grown cold after losing many to the winter's wrath. As I entered their village, my every step crunched against the frost-tinged earth. The air was thick with suspicion, but I pressed on until I found their chieftain, a woman named Astrid. Her eyes, like blazing coals, scrutinized my intention, and I laid bare the fate that awaited us. I spoke of the curse and the rogue god, showing her the desperation we all felt. In that moment, something shifted within her, a flicker of hope ignited behind her steely gaze. She agreed to join my cause, and her warmth soon drew in others who had lost their kin to the endless chill. One by one we gathered, forging bonds between a blacksmith, a warrior, a trickster, and a mage, each bringing their own story and strength to our burgeoning fellowship. Part 3. The Frozen Heart. Our journey led us deep into the northern realms, where the sun dared not tread. The air grew frigid, and the terrain transformed into treacherous ice and unforgiving snow. Night fell with a vengeance, and it was beneath the light of the stars that we stumbled upon a cave, a gaping maw of shadow that beckoned us inside. With cautious hearts, we traversed its depths, our breaths visible like puffs of smoke. The cave was a labyrinth of ice, and within it, we found ancient carvings that spoke of the rogue god's history, his fall from grace, the betrayal that turned him into the embodiment of winter. We knew then that to confront him, we must reach the frozen heart, the source of his power, buried deep within this desolate expanse. As we pressed further, we encountered phantoms of those who fell victim to his wrath, their icy hands grasping at us, desperate to escape their eternal prison. But even as fear clawed at our hearts, we pushed on, our spirits entwined with the same resolve that had led us this far. Part 4. Confronting the Rogue God. At the heart of the cave, we found Haim, a towering figure, surrounded by a storm of swirling snow and darkness. Tirador was both magnificent and terrifying, his voice a tempest as he raged against the world that cast him aside. It was a battle of wills, and with each word exchanged, we felt the weight of his fury pressing down upon us. My companions stood firm, rallying together as we faced the rogue god, and we called upon our shared strength, Astrid with her blade, Elowen with her magics, and the trickster whose laughter turned to a weapon against despair. Yet even as we fought, the struggle was more than mere physical combat. It was a clash of emotions, a reconciliation of pain that had festered in this god's heart. With a final surge of determination, we reached to the core of his anguished soul, speaking of loss, love, and the warmth of hope that could thaw even the deepest of winters. It was then that I saw a flicker of humanity within the chaos, and I knew the battle was not merely against a deity, but for understanding and redemption. Part 5. The Thaw of Hope. The battle raged on, a tempest of ice and fury colliding with heart and hope. Finally, the moment came when Tyrrendor hesitated, his anger faltering as he faced the truth of his past. It was in that moment of vulnerability that I stepped forward, unarmed and open, my heart bare before him. I spoke of the strength in vulnerability, the power of community, and the irradiance of spring that must follow winter. We collectively unleashed the warmth we had forged in our unity and kindness, and the rogue god's form wavered, cracking like thin ice beneath the sun. As the frost began to fade, the snow melted away, revealing the vibrant life that lay dormant beneath. The eternal winter yielded to a glorious rebirth, and with Tyrrendor's remorse laid bare, he chose to guide the seasons from then forth, no longer a harbinger of despair, but a watchful guardian who understood the balance of loss and renewal. With our quest fulfilled, we returned to Elderwood, the air now tinged with warmth and fragrance. The frozen wasteland transformed into flourishing meadows, and our fellowship, once unlikely heroes, stood together, no longer as strangers, but as a family bound by their trials. The wind whispered once more, but this time it carried tales of hope, stories that would echo for generations to come. The sun rose over Elderwood, casting a golden hue on the remnants of snow that clung to the edges of the village. It was a sight to behold, a promise that the harsh winter we had endured was finally giving way to the warmth of spring. As I walked through the streets, every villager I met was adorned with smiles, their spirits lifted by the triumph we had achieved against the rogue god. But even though the curse of the eternal winter had been lifted, I felt the weight of change within me. The journey we had undertaken was more than mere battles against icy foes. It had transformed me in ways I could scarcely comprehend. The forge that had once been my sanctuary now felt like a tether to a past life. I longed for adventure, for the thrill of forging new paths rather than mere metal. As I stood before my workshop, hammer poised to strike, I noticed Elowen approaching, her cloak flowing like a river of stars behind her. Her expression was serious yet gentle, the depths of her ice-blue gaze reflecting a shared understanding of the trials we had faced. "Seth," she said, using my name for the first time. "The balance has been restored, but the world still needs watchers, those who can ensure that darkness does not rise again." Those words resonated within me, igniting a spark of purpose. I looked at Elowen, recalling the power of our unity, the strength we found in one another. "You mean we should continue to seek out threats, to protect the realm from rogue gods and ancient curses?" Her smile was a flicker of warmth amidst the lingering chill. "Exactly. We have the skills and the bonds formed in the fires of battle. Together we can travel the realms, spreading the light and warmth we have reclaimed." With the sun setting behind the mountains casting long shadows upon the village, I found myself nodding, a wave of exhilaration washing over me. I turned to the band of unlikely heroes who were now my chosen family. Astrid, Giara the Trickster, and Elowen all gathered by my side. Without words, we formed a circle, our hands clasped together in a silent vow, a pact wrought from courage and trust. After that, our first order of business was to visit the other realms, regions long thought frozen in despair, and inspire them to embrace the warmth of hope. We journeyed across frigid tundras, once scorched deserts that now bore scars of an eternal winter, and lush forests withered by ancient curses. In each land, we encountered those who had given up, their hearts shrouded in icy despair. We shared our stories, inspiring them to rise and stand united against the dark forces that had plagued them for years. We wielded courage like a shield, and slowly, we began to sow seeds of hope. In the skeletal shadows of the frost-bitten peaks, we faced monsters of the night, a wretched breed that thrived on fear and sorrow. Our friendships became our weapons as we fought, our laughter echoing against the mountains as we overcame each challenge with unity. Elowin's magic sparkled like sunlight through the trees as she conjured shields of warmth. Astrid led the charge with her unwavering ferocity. Giara's quick wit confounded our enemies, and I hammered forth with the relentless spirit of the blacksmith. Together, we were more than mere allies. We were legends in the making. Yet it was not without struggles. There were moments when despair loomed large, when the chilling breath of darkness threatened to snuff out the light we had rekindled. There were battles lost, companions injured, and nights when shadows crept too close. But in those moments, we learned to lean on one another, our bonds forged deeper than any metal I had ever worked in my forge. In the embrace of friendships newly forged, we faced the culmination of our journey in the frozen caverns of Haldara, where a remnant of Tyrridor's power still lingered, a dark echo of his former wrath. As we delved deeper into the icy abyss, we felt the cold seep into our bones, a reminder of how easy it would be to succumb to hopelessness. But we had come too far to turn back. Armed with the warmth of our memories and the tales we had shared, we pressed on, facing the remaining shadows that threatened to engulf the light we fought so hard to reclaim. We found ourselves at the center of the cavern, a swirling vortex of ice and despair. From its heart rose remnants of Tyrridor's essence, warped and corrupted by hatred. But rather than fists raised in defeat, we held hands in solidarity, breathing life into the goodness we had cultivated. Together, we recalled the tales of resilience, joy, love, and the warmth of spring that greeted us on our return to Elderwood. As we spoke those words, the vortex shivered, the ice cracking with the power of our resolve. With a thunderous roar, the cold retreated, swallowed by our defiance. The remnants of darkness melted away in a brilliant cascade of warmth and light, illuminating the cavern and chasing away the shadows once and for all. And at that moment, we understood that light was not the absence of darkness, but the presence of hope. As we emerged back into the world, we had not merely erased a menace, but had transformed it into a beacon for those yet to fight. Our journey as protectors had only just begun, yet we carried with us a knowledge beyond wars and victories, a truth etched in the tapestry of our hearts that no darkness could extinguish. We would continue to walk side by side, watching over the worlds we had saved and those we would encounter anew, becoming storytellers of both struggle and triumph. And as the winds changed, bringing whispers of new adventures, I cast one last glance back at Elderwood. The forge still stood strong, waiting for my return, but now I saw it as a part of a larger canvas, a place of beginnings that would never close. With my companions beside me, we would face the eternal night together, forever bound by the warmth of hope and the strength of our shared journey. As we began our new chapter, my thoughts turned toward the horizon, where the mountains met the sky in a tapestry of colors, heralding dawn's arrival. Each day could bring forth a new adventure, and the world was vast, filled with realms both familiar and uncharted. With Elowin leading the way, our small band ventured forth under a canopy of stars, intent on spreading the stories of hope and unity that had pulled us from despair. Our travels took us across verdant valleys and through sprawling forests, each step anchoring us deeper into a journey meant not only to protect, but to heal. One night, while gathering around a fire under a sky littered with stars, Giara, always the one for jest, began spinning tales of our past encounters, the ferocious Frostbound, the deceptive monsters of the night, and our battle with Tyrridor's remnants. Her words danced like flames, drawing laughs and cheers from us all. Yet, amidst the laughter, we also reflected on our challenges and the sorrows that still laced the air in some places we visited. It became clear that not every soul we encountered welcomed our message, for some had grown too accustomed to the chill that had become their fate. Their hearts had grown shiny and hard, like cold metal, resistant to the warmth we carried, as if the light we offered cast shadows they were not willing to confront. So it was in the shadow of the shadowy realm of Ardiara, a land once vibrant but now dulled by an oppressive gloom, that we first felt the weight of our mission. The wailing winds called out with sorrow as we arrived, a dismal town huddled beneath gray skies, inhabitants whose gazes were vacant, as if they had forgotten what it felt like to hope. Astrid proclaimed we would not leave until we reached the hearts of the people. If we wished to spark warmth within them, We cannot shy away from their pain, she said, her voice firm yet comforting. We set about our new task, gathering stories from the townsfolk, listening deeply as they recounted how the seasons once graced their land and warm memories turned cold, dulled by hardships and loss. Despite their bitterness, each tale was a flicker of light, and we embraced them like embers waiting to be kindled. We shared our own stories, our strength and victories, watching their eyes for any response. Slowly but surely, those flickers began to catch, igniting curiosity and a spark of life. As days passed, a meal shared brought laughter, a song sung lifted spirits, and before long, hope began to unfurl amidst the icy fog that had enveloped Arara. One girl named Mira, her eyes full of yearning, reminded us of the power of dreams and desire. She longed to see the sun again, to feel its warmth upon her skin, and to dance underneath its glow. Her voice trembled with the passion of a spirit unbroken, inspiring those around her to remember the warmth they had buried so deep. Emboldened by her resilience, we took it upon ourselves to rally the community, organizing a festival to celebrate the return of spring. Under the dappled twilight, we laid plans to usher life back into Arara through a gathering of joy and remembrance, a night of music, laughter, and dancing to welcome the sun back into their lives. On the eve of the festival, we worked tirelessly, gathering together whatever we could. Astrid led the warriors of the town, forging camaraderie as they stoked fires and prepared feasts. Giara devised games and merriment that would lead those hearts from sorrow to laughter. Elowen charmed the restless spirits with magic that danced in the night sky like falling stars. The festival began with the sound of drums and laughter spilling into the heavens, flickering lanterns forged from our hopes weaving through the night. The townsfolk emerged, hesitant at first, but as the music filled the air, they found themselves drawn out of their shadows like moths to flame. The energy buzzed like lightning, creating a palpable current of joy that swept through the crowd. That night I witnessed the transformation powerfully up close. The constraints of despair melted away, each smile shattering the ice that had formed around their hearts. Mira took to the center, her voice rising above the music, bringing forth a melody of the past, a hymn of hope, calling to every spirit that had grown weary under the weight of winter. As we danced and sang together, I could see the first blush of dawn painting the edges of the horizon, like a promise of new beginnings. In that moment, I understood that light does not come solely from battles fought and won. It also comes from compassion, understanding, and the courage to embrace joy, even amidst darkness. As the festival reached its peak, we gathered once more in a circle, our hands entwined, eyes lifted to the sky, celebrating not just the return of warmth, but the rekindling of a community's spirit. The people of Arara danced with abandon, their laughter ringing against the clouds like bells, each note a healing balm against the chill that had long since stifled their souls. Days turned into weeks, and soon it was time to resume our journey. But we did not leave Ardeara empty-handed. The warmth we ignited had taken root in the hearts of the townspeople, and they vowed to carry forward the light we had shared. As we ventured on from there, I found comfort in the thought that each place we touched would light another flame. Our band of heroes traveled forth, continuing to spread the wholesome tales of our victories, the warmth forged in the crucibles of our friendships. But even amidst our joy, I felt a twinge in my heart, a sense that the darkness we fought was not so easily vanquished. I began to wonder, was our journey merely the beginning? Would the trials ahead be greater than those we had faced? The answer came one dark winter's eve as we gathered on the precipice of the great Eldwin forest, where the air tasted of storms brewing. Whispers rustled through the trees, carrying tales of ancient beings said to dwell within. Stories of being self-righteous in their sorrows, those who, like Tirador, bore grudges that could unravel worlds. And just as I pondered upon them, the ground trembled beneath us. From the shadows emerged figures cloaked in darkness, their eyes aglow with the embers of their own stale rage. They revealed themselves as the harbingers of winter, and they were the children of despair, remnants of lost souls who had witnessed the horrors of both eternity and the endless chill. Their leader, a tall specter wreathed in grays, stepped forth, a chilling smile twisting across his face. "You think to kindle hope where it has perished," he taunted, his words layered with ice. "But you know not the depths of anguish we have suffered. We are the relics of vengeance, and you shall learn that not all darkness can be thawed." In that moment, I felt a rush of fear, uncertainty swirling within our ranks. But then I glanced at my companions Elowen, Astrid, Giara. We stood together, bound not just by past trials, but by an unbreakable spirit and the knowledge that darkness could be met, not just with courage, but with understanding. So, with the chill of a relentless storm at our backs and the cosmos urging us forward, we readied ourselves. We would face these harbingers of winter, not as an insurmountable foe, but as an opportunity for yet another story to share a story of hope against despair, warmth battling relentless frost. With hearts bold and spirits united, we took our place, drawing the warmth we had sown in every village, every blessing we had found. And as we stood against the brewing tempest, I knew we had both the courage and the desire to confront this chilling new threat. For together we represented not only the strength of warriors, but the very essence of life, the enduring hope that would persist against all odds. And so our saga unfolded once more, beneath the shadows of greater struggles, carving our path with each step through the freezing darkness that could not extinguish the flames of possibility we carried within us. The heart of our adventure had only just begun, limitless and expansive, dancing through the realms of light and shadow alike. The air crackled with tension as the harbingers of winter advanced, their presence seeping into the very marrow of the earth beneath us. The figure at their forefront, the leader cloaked in shadow, radiated a darkness that felt almost sentient, as if it would grasp at our hearts and pull us into the abyss. We had faced mighty threats before, but this felt different, as if we were staring directly into the heart of despair itself. Yet even as fear clamored at the edges of my mind, hope flickered like a candle in the wind. The warmth we had ignited in previous encounters pooled within our very beings, ready to be unleashed in the face of this new darkness. "Your light is weak, a mere flicker against the might of eternal winter," the specter hissed, voice heavy with malice. "You will find no refuge here. Only a reckoning awaits you." Elowen stepped forward, her form imbued with ethereal luminescence, a contrast to the gloom. "We do not seek refuge but confrontation," she replied, her voice steady. "We come not to extinguish, but to understand. We know the pain of betrayal, of loss, and we have faced the cold depths of despair. But through it all, we have found warmth and unity." At her words, the specters hesitated, shadows flickering like candles amidst the wind. Even the icy hush that had smothered the forest seemed to abate, as if questioning our resolve. But it soon returned as the leader sneered, a dark mirth in his gaze. "Unity? Do you think it can quell the storms within us? You are fools to believe the warmth you carry can illuminate what has been long since frozen. We were cast aside, cursed to dwell in darkness, and we will seek revenge upon those who bask in your precious light." Astrid clenched her fists, stepping beside Elowen with fierce determination. "Then let us show you the strength that comes from understanding. Each of you suffers, and each of you clings to your pain. But there is more to life than enduring the shadows. There is a path to healing and redemption." Slowly, one of the harbingers, a brooding entity with luminous blue eyes, turned his gaze from the shadows, and I could sense curiosity lurking beneath the layers of grief. Perhaps beneath those cold exteriors lay hearts capable of warmth, waiting for an ember to ignite their lost hopes. Without hesitation, Giara joined in, her voice light and teasing yet earnest. "You think you are alone in your sorrow, but we have all walked through the storms. Together, we can channel our pain into something greater than vengeance, a journey worth taking." The echoes of her laughter swirled around us, creating ripples of surprise among the harbingers. I could see them hesitating, wrestling with centuries of bitterness and resentment that bound them tighter than any chain. The wind and shadows stirred, as if whispering doubts and memories long buried within the hearts of those who floated before us. In that moment, I knew we could weave our stories into their own. A bridge stretched across the chasm of despair. "We have lost much," I said, stepping forward, each word deliberate and firm. "But every loss serves as a tale of love and warmth waiting to be shared. We have faced storms and come out stronger. We have survived the deepest winters and now carry the promise of spring. You may feel lost, but you can find your way home." A thunderous silence enveloped us, the shadows waning, as the harbingers exchanged furtive glances. Uncertainty flickered in their eyes like lost stars, and for the first time, I saw the darker figures hesitate. The leader's expression darkened, recognizing that our words held power over him. "You know not what awaits you," he spat, though his tone shivered with an undercurrent of doubt. "Our rage has fueled us for centuries. You cannot protect yourselves from it." Yet it was then that Elowen raised her hands, conjuring forth a cascade of warm light that filtered through the darkness like a dawn breaking. The illumination swallowed the shadows whole, creating a protective barrier around us that sang with warmth and vibrancy. "You do not have to remain rooted in the pain of the past," she urged, her voice gentle yet firm. "Together we can untangle the threads of grief, and instead of looking at you as embodiments of despair, we see you as potentials for change flames waiting to be relit. Wrestle with your agony and weave it into the tapestry of your future, rather than allowing it to bind you in chains." I saw the blue-eyed specter shake ever so slightly, as if awakening from a dream. The leader of the harbingers took a step back, his foundation cracking, the swirling icy aura around him fading just a fraction. In the quiet, I sensed a dread letting go. We do not know how," he admitted, his voice trembling like the wind. "We will show you," I replied, my heart surging with renewed energy, for I understood now that the darkness was not just to be fought, it was to be understood and transformed. One by one, we reached out our hands, inviting them to step closer. The barrier of light shimmered in anticipation, containing the very essence of community, hope, and renewal. Long moments passed, and I watched as uncertainty tangled with the yearning for freedom pulsating in their eyes. Then, like the tender unfurling of a fragile bud breaking through the snow, the blue-eyed specter and one other stepped forward, as if pulled by an unseen thread of hope woven into the air. With that first step into the light, I felt a rush of warmth skimming along my skin. I could sense emotions swirling like a storm, fierce yet invigorating, enveloping theme, and along with it came healing tears, cascading down the specter's cheeks. The leader's defiance melted away, revealing the raw edges of grief and torment beneath. We are lost." The words tumbled from him, raw and exposed, as he grappled with the truths that had long eluded him. "You are not alone," I assured him, locking my gaze with his. "You can find your way back. Let us help you find peace in your story." And so began a transformation slow, fragile, but undeniable. As the burdens that had burdened the harbingers began to lift, I saw the darkness nurture the first flickers of light within those once lost souls. The shadows realized their stories did not need to end in bitterness, but could forge a path for renewal. With every member of our fellowship embracing their transformation, the hearts surrounding us began to glow, each light intertwining with others, creating a tapestry of warmth that spread outwards. In that moment, the cold brick of despair cracked as warmth seeped through, illuminating the dire landscape around us. As dawn broke across the horizon, the leaders of the harbingers, no longer mere embodiments of vengeance, began to weep openly, their tears glistening like drops of morning dew. They spoke of their past, of the pain that had twisted them into shadows, and slowly, more voices joined, recounting shared stories, overcoming grief through acceptance. Their once icy forms shimmered in the dawning light, and we reciprocated their vulnerability by sharing our hardships, the losses, the suffering, the battles against despair that had shaped us. The unity between us deepened as each new story met the soft glow of acceptance, each telling weaving hope into the fabric of their being. "I see now," the blue-eyed specter said finally, "the shadows don't have to be the end of our journeys. There can be another path." As the restorative light coursed through the air, the leader lifted his chin as if breaking free from chains, his voice steady now. "We will bear not just the weight of our anguish, but the warmth of our rebirth." And so we stood, former foes now united in understanding, facing a world that had once felt unyieldingly cold. For every story shared, our bonds strengthened, and brighter still was the dawn that graced us, a celebration of the rekindled spirit that could dance between light and shadow. But I now understood how the journey did not merely stop here. We would be keepers of these stories, guiding others like lanterns to find their way out of darkness. Our purpose had expanded beyond mere protection. We were now bearers of hope, a light for the lost, healers for the wounded, and storytellers for souls adrift. As we made our way back toward the village of Elderwood, the transformation tangible within our hearts, I found reason to wear a smile. We were not just heroes. We were part of a legacy, a light in both the brightest and darkest of places, bringing warmth to the cold, fortitude to the broken, and hope to the lost. Our tales would continue, with each chapter unfolding into a broader story yet to be told, a legacy of unity against despair, echoing across realms. It would encompass courage forged in friendships and love crafted through battle, reminding all who crossed our path that together we were the living embodiment of hope, the torchbearers of life's eternal promise. And as long as we remained side by side, guiding each other through shadows deep and trails winding, we would not only confront darkness, we would transform it into a beacon of light. The heart of our adventure still pulsed with life, vibrant and unyielding in its choices, ensuring that our journey truly had just begun.